There's that funky slide guitar music that comes in every Monday through Friday, live at 5, University Network on the left, YouTube. Check us out, subscribe, type the 9 Newswire on all those platforms, or Roy Blackert, whichever one pops us up. You'll see my nice, shining, smiling face on those. Lots of great stuff to come on today. A school board member is mixed up and have been arrested on a child molestation case. Man demanded sex from a woman. Actually, she was sleeping in a dumpster. Set her on fire in Fontana. Holy cow. It's just the Epstein files coming out. We'll show you who was actually implicated, or they have the pictures of. And it's not who you've been told. Well, some of them you have. It's very, very enlightening. And much, much more. Of course, we'll join the Mighty Met KMET at the bottom of the hour, but the lead story of the day. San Bernardino cops. Oh, stopped, fled, high-centered, arrested. Couple guns. That's that. Let's see, and hopefully we can roll the video tape. Here we go. We thought.
Go over is you made 2 unsafe lane changes, alright? Can you roll down all your windows for me? You got your license on you?
Yes, I'm trying to picture though.
Alright, just hop out real quick on this. Unclip yourself and hop out, bro.
Here we have the action scene of the cop chasing the flames. Looks like going to be criminal.
Dude, almost had me. You almost had me.
There he is, high-centered.
You never had your car.
Oh, look what they discovered. Probably stolen weapons. Good job from the San Bernardino Police Department. It just goes to show, like, with the Turtle Island Liberation Front, or the Order of the Black Lotus, or whatever they are, they said, we're going to get guns. We're going to get the guns. We got a source to get them illegally. How much? I mean, I'd almost bet the farm, your farm, my farm, everybody's farm, those are stolen weapons. You're not going to stop the criminals from obtaining firearms. So unless you want to be slaughtered, like the 15 were at Bondi Beach or the other ones that we've had here lately, or in a terrorist attack, you should. If you're comfortable with firearms, you should not have, the government should have a compelling reason to take a firearm away from you, i.e. you're in jail, you're a felon, you're totally whacked out of your head. Other than that, that's your only hope of keeping your freedom and your life as you see fit to live it. We brought you this story of the arrest of Judge Hannah C. Dugan a while ago, and she was harboring, or ICE was looking for an illegal alien. It was in her courtroom, in her chambers or her office, let's put it that way. And she get the right one up here. She, maybe accidentally, she said, or whatever, No, she's harboring this illegal alien in her chambers, and she's, in fact, what probably really got her into trouble was she was directing others in the office to deflect the ICE agents away while the illegal alien escaped. Fortunately, they found him about a block down the road. And they went back in, cuffed, and arrested liberal Wisconsin Judge Hannah C. Dugan. She has now been found guilty of harboring that illegal alien. And as we said, never forget. Never forget these liberal yo-yo judges. They're the ones that they not only defend this, they will break the law to keep illegals in. I'll do it. I'll get the heat. It's what she's been quoted as saying. Well, she did it. Now she's got it. I hope they sentence her. They probably won't. They should sentence her to the maximum amount. A judge who's supposed to be neutral and following the law, betraying the law like this, she should absolutely, positively, 1,000% get the maximum sentence afforded by law. Another thing, this whole thing, day laborers protest noise machines allegedly installed at a Home Depot store front in Cypress Park. We said before, and prove us wrong, most of these day laborers or the hookers or everything are running under the controls of the cartel. So if you're hiring the day laborers or the hookers, you're paying the Mexican, Chinese, whatever cartels are doing this. But what right do they have? If Home Depot in their parking lot wants to blast the screeching of Taylor Swift or whomever, it's their parking lot. You don't have a... Where did it become a right that you could camp? You're using Home Depot's parking lot as your office for day laboring. Here's the ABC7 report. We thought. Here we go.
Machines installed outside the Home Depot in Cypress Park.
Day laborers were put in place to drive them away amid the immigration raids at that store. Eyewitness News reporter Madison Weil is there live. Madison.
John, Rachel, good morning. Yeah, we're just outside the Home Depot here in Cypress Park where city officials and advocates gathered this week to protest these alleged noise machines. We'll give you a look at the parking lot here, empty at this hour, but this is where advocates say a loud, piercing sound has been emitted for months. Now, this is according to the LA Times. They say it's an effort to push day laborers out of this area.
Why don't they just tell them to leave? It's like loitering. I mean, for crying out loud. Who has a right? Why do they have a right to do this? Why do they have a right to sit there and camp at Home Depot and then protest? Home Depot should say, hey, you're trespassing. If they don't, call the freaking cops. I'm pretty sure in Cyprus they would probably respond. See what else they have to say.
Home Depot responding to the LA Times saying they have several initiatives to, quote, keep our stores safe, including human and technology resources. But they didn't address questions specifically about these high-pitched sound machines. Now, this morning, we're not hearing that sound. We know that devices like this have also been used to deter homeless from specific areas. We also know that Home Depot locations nationwide have been a target for ICE raids. Back in November, ICE agents detained.
Yeah, because that's where one spot where they're congregating. And again, for whatever, Home Depot should not have to have, they should not have to have a reason of who they let on their private property at any time. And if you don't like the loud sound machines they got going, then don't go to Home Depot. I would, because if they don't got a bunch of people out there who are most likely working for the cartels, I'm more likely to stop by their business if I need something from the depot. This stuff is getting absolutely ridiculous. We'll get into the California governor's race, the latest polls coming out. Where and who is gaining jobs and not in the good old US of A. The settlement in the Tyler Skaggs Angels wrongful death case has come out. Who we want investigated, indicted, and incarcerated. And much, much more on today's show. Yeah, yes. Getting back, and that's what we want. We want people indicted, investigated, indicted, incarcerated. Laura Logan came up with a great list. I think we'll share with everyone. The Comey one, and I think I would say better than 50% chance he walks from that one. That is just, that's the weakest case you could have brought. But her list, I believe, is absolutely fantastic. John Brennan, James Clapper, Susan Rice, Norm Eisen, George Soros. Well, Comey's on it. To the real meats and potatoes on Comey. Peter Strzok, Christopher Steele, Lisa Page, Barack Hussein Obama, Hillary Clinton, slow Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, Huma Abedin, Anthony Weiner, Michael Flournoy, Jake Sullivan, John Kerry, Andrew McCabe, Rod Reinstein, Adam Pencilneck Schiff, Nancy, and we won't insert the real name for her, Pelosi, Paul Pelosi, all of the CIA, almost all of the DOJ, most of the FBI, Fusion GPS, Mark Elias, oh, that's a great one. For those of you that don't know, Mark Elias, the Clinton Foundation, and Hunter Biden. Maybe Mark Elias is maybe 1 or 1A in that target. He was working for Perkins Coie, the big District of Criminals law firm. And they were doing all the election fraud. And then it was getting pretty hot when Trump got in and started doing the investigation. So they moved. Mark Elias split off on his own practice and has been doing most of the Democrats' bidding on the keeping the election fraud, in my opinion. But he's darn good. I mean, I'd hire him in a heartbeat if we get him on our side. And he's been in with the treasonous, corrupt judges, as Laura Logan pointed out. All these cats need to go. All these cats. It's been a year. We only got one indictment on obstruction of justice of telling a lie at Congress on James Comey. Bondi's either got to get her S together or we got to get somebody else in there. I'd probably just at this point, so you don't have to go through a big a lot of reasons. Harmeet's solid in my opinion. Plus, she's been assistant DA, civil rights, yada, yada, yada. She's already been there a year. She knows the system. She's on it. Go do that. Move Bill Asaley up to deputy director of the Department of Justice and turn them loose. Because they'll get up to this point, we know they'll get the job done. They haven't hesitated. They haven't backed up. Harmeet's been filing the cases on the voter fraud, on Second Amendment, getting rid of these phony civil rights claims. Asaley, his record speaks for himself as district attorney for Central and Southern California. But we're not, and I understand the frustration, but we're not getting moves. Things are not happening fast enough. It seemed like the first 2 or 3 or 4 months, Trump and that and Doge was going on, and they're doing this and firing that and getting rid of this. It seemed like we were off to a good start. And then the blow up with Musk, and then it just seemed to run downhill from there to this point, to his addressing the nation the other day, which I said could have been done, my opinion, could have been done a lot better. And I hope it's coming within the first week of the year. We need to know what the action is going to be in 26. Are we going to? We should be done with the investigations. The indictment should be coming down. Like wood coming out of a wood chipper. They should be flying out. We should be doing the indictment trial phase, and within 6 months or so, we're starting to get in convictions, guilties, incarceration, and so forth. I think that will get the angst of those, especially those who, let's say, are not inclined to be center right, but voted for Trump because they thought he was going to clean a lot of this stuff up. So we shall see. If it gets any play. This just came in from the aforementioned Elon Musk. Let's see what the Musketeer has to say. I believe it's pertaining to this subject. Sometimes you get your trouble into doing these on live without looking at it, but here we go.
Fake NGOs. I think there needs to be a number of arrests in that regard as well, because these are fake charities where mostly Democrats, almost, well, I don't want to be clear. There's sometimes a little bit of Republican in there because they sometimes throw the Republicans a bone to say, hey, be quiet about this. So that's where you start getting the uniparty thing going on. Mm-hmm.
Gotta agree with that. That's another whole can of worms. These supposed fake non-government agencies. They're not non-government agencies. They're just doing that, which they're doing it illegally, but they're just making such a quagmire spider web out of everything you can't find it. But what the government has been doing for decades is getting private, in the case of the illegal alien invasion, Catholic charities, Jewish charities, Lutheran charities, Red Cross. They get these nonprofits. Congress, president appropriates the money, president doles it out. They go through and facilitate bringing 10, 20, 30 million illegals in. Where do you think somebody who's practically starving to death down in Peru has got 10 grand to pay a coyote coming across the border? Really? Think about it. Let's play more from the Musketeer. Here we go.
It is overwhelmingly to Democrats, and they give these give billions of dollars to NGOs run by Democrats that then go through a whole network of additional NGOs. It's a giant money laundering scheme.
He's 1,111% correct on that. It's a giant money laundering scheme. There was a whole USAID, $40 billion they were rolling through on that. How they're doing it on the Act Blue thing, that's another one. Why isn't anything done on Act Blue? Some poor little old lady living in a hovel in Bear, Vermont or something, and they got her given $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 and 6 donations a day for every day of the year. It's where a lot of the Soros con money came through. See what else the Musketeer has to say.
Really, at this point, I think the word NGO and money laundering are almost synonymous.
Well, no, I don't think you're going to be hard-pressed. I don't think you're going to find no truer words ever spoken on that. They need to bring Musk back in as a de facto advisor, czar, because he can grab the attention, and he had it. Man, when Trump came in and Doge was going, and we're doing this, and why is this going on? And it was on X every 10 minutes they're putting something up on that, and it's just blowing up, and people are going, yeah, let's get this stuff fixed. That's what we voted for. Then kablooey, man, it all blew up like a Mount St. Helens volcano. It's, again, I don't know what, and maybe it has to do with Trump's inability to admit he makes a mistake. Although, you know, he had his his TV show or whatever, You're Fired. And obviously a guy that's done it much, he's had to fire a lot of people that weren't getting the job done. And he's not, okay, you made some bad picks. That's fine. Let's get rid of them. My top 3 would be Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and James Radcliffe. Get rid of them. I would rather have Stephen Miller as chief of staff than Susie Wiles, but for whatever reason, Trump just adores Susie Wiles. So, never say never in this business, but I don't think Trump will get rid of Susie Wiles, or that would be very, very highly unusual circumstances. I would see that coming about. So I don't, as much as I'd like to see Stephen Miller, at least he's deputy chief of staff and the one that does most of the talking and policy and stuff like that. But Bondi, Radcliffe, Cash Patel, they need to be replaced. 1,000%. And I don't know why she wasn't canned over that Epstein Files fiasco at the beginning. That was another thing that just did not go over well. And I'm trying to be kind about it. So we'll see. Speaking of that, speaking of the Epstein Files, of course, a bunch of the pictures and documents got released today. And as the Daily Mail has it up on their website, it's a Clinton-heavy Epstein release, as you're seeing in the Daily Mail. And who's that? The now room temperature, but former king of pop, Michael Jackson. See every shocking photo from the Epstein Files, Michael Jackson, Mick Jagger, Kevin Spacey, among other celebrities. They were more concerned about the celebrity part, although they did put Clinton in there a lot, Mick Jagger, and a whole run of them. Richard Branson. It's, again, Bill Clinton seems to be taking front and center on this whole thing. There's Billy C. again. Of that, that's a weird one. A black, looks like a black, I guess, lady or guy in a wedding dress hanging. Jeez. Nurse hat and a stethoscope. But again, it's a very heavy, supposed to be one on there, I don't know if it is, of Elaine Maxwell bearing her tits. We'll see if that one comes out. I haven't seen that one. I heard it was in there. See what the NYP has. And of course, there's people, they didn't get them all out, yada, yada, yada. I think at this point, I don't see any big revelations coming out of the Epstein thing. But again, Pam Bondi needs to start indicting people over this. You know, this was a big deal that got the flap between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tom Massey and Trump. Trump was pissed because they were out there saying, hey, get the Epstein files out there. And that created a lot of angst. In that whole situation. And I'm all for it. I mean, we should see everything on that. Why it's taken us a year just to get the documents. Hell, we should have had them right off the get-go. And there should be major league indictments coming down on this. Because if there was, indict the pedos, and we could probably figure out who probably number one was. The infamous dude that said, I did not have sex with that woman, Monica Lewinsky. Well, according to the biblical definition, I didn't have intercourse with her. She was just blowing my Johnson under the desk at the White House. What's the matter with that? But to show you the hypocrisy on the left, and we could go on and on and on. This was 3 weeks ago to 2 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago to today. Let's see if this will play.
Anna, one thing that stands out to me is the people whose faces are not redacted as compared with images where we can see that the women have faces that are redacted or blurred out. That suggests to me that either the estate and or the committee believe that some of these women are either minors and or survivors.
That's the infamous photo of Trump with the whatever beauty contest he was running on his TV show, which are obviously chicks that are most likely in their 20s. They all got to be over 18 because they were in the beauty pageant as adults, yada, yada, yada. And it was a public, the Democrats blanked out the faces of a public picture that was taken from just a media post that anybody could have seen. Now here's the same rendition a week later, yesterday, here we go.
Of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. I've seen some images of Bill Clinton in this drop. Some of them show Bill Clinton with other people, some of whom are known, some of whom are not known. But of course, we have no context for where these images come from.
Oh, now we have no context from where the images come from or how that. Before it was Trump. Last week it was Trump. Oh, there he is with all these beauties. Yeah, look at these little 13-year-olds. Times 2. At a beauty contest, he was running as a TV show that he owned the beauty contest that they were running. And they're not even, they're about as fully clothed as you get in a beauty contest. They ain't even in the bikini contest or whatever. Looks like Hawaiian with the lays and all that.
We don't know whether they were selected purposefully or not.
Oh, you didn't select the...
One thing that stands out to me.
You didn't select this?
Images
the Democrats,
where the women have faces that are redacted.
The Democrats released 19 photos, all of Trump. None of them incriminating. We got thousands of them, hundreds of tens of thousands or whatever they released today. Well, we don't know if they selected these. Well, okay. Out of 10,000, 9,999 of them got Bill Clinton plastered all over them or whomever. Heard Noam Chomsky was on them. There's the hypocrisy reeks so bad. So terribly bad on this thing. That's why they have no credibility. Say what you want. Tom Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene stood their ground for the girls who got abused as minors. You don't hear. Which Democrat, which left center, media outlet, public figure, they say, when they thought they were going to get Trump, you got to protect the girls, and Trump was out there doing X, Y, and Z with 13-year-olds and yada, yada, yada. When there has been absolutely zero evidence that Trump has been implicated in anything untoward. the mounting evidence on a lot of these so-called, well, hypocrites. Let's try to be nice. It's, you know, if they were just slightly honest about some of this stuff, you know, you might tend to believe a little bit of it. Nearly naked, Bill Clinton pictured soaking in a hot tub with unidentified woman in Epstein files. His reckoning. There's the picture as it's posted in the New York Post. Yet the libtard, well, we don't know the context of this. I mean, like I say, the Clinton part of this, I mean, he's like I said, it seems like he's in 9,999 out of every picture. Some of this will be logged in the annals of history. We just don't know how. That's why I say, if Bondi needs to get on the stick and start throwing the indictments, especially on the Epstein case. Man, what is wrong with you, woman? More of the intrigue that surrounds this case. And again, we're talking about, you know, all those celebrities, politicians. Still, the bad thing about this, or let's say the heartbreaking thing about this, are the girls that were the victims. Very few seem to be standing up for them. Says a lot about our society, I believe. Hopefully we'll get our S together and it will precipitate us to greater heights than we've got a lot of potential. There's, even with all the haranguing going on, still the greatest country in the history of the world. I hope Trump comes out with a budget. You need to get Musk in there, whatever, chop $1 trillion off of it. They chop $1 trillion off of the budget that they have now. I think it will still be almost $1 billion higher than the last budget before COVID. So there's no excuse. And Trump's got to start getting defense budgets fine. Get rid of the military budget. That's where one of the biggest crook industries is the military industrial complex. As Dwight D. Eisenhower warned us on his way out in 61 as president. So it will be one heck of a ride as we go forward. I was waiting for Sean to pipe in.
I'm here.
How much time do I got left?
We're about 30 seconds out,
30
Roy.
seconds out, okay. Oh, man. When I heard that come in, I thought, well, he's going to pipe in here. So that's why you got the delay. And we'll be back as we go. We're going to catch up on my theory on the California governor's race. Is rolling out like a tea. I hope everybody jumps on board. Not only California's got a shot in 26 to really.
Here we go. 10 seconds.
Really hoe down around.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
That funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday live 5:30 in the Mighty Met 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire in the aforementioned AM band, joining our vast video audience in the EVIP Network, Rumble, X, YouTube. Check us out, subscribe, type in iNewsWire on Rumble, X and all that, or Roy Bleckert. You'll get my nice, smiling, shining face coming across there. Check out the one of the San Bernardino cops, or what the dude that cop stopped him. He decides to take off. Didn't get far. He high centers the car. And they found weapons and all that. How much you want to bet they're weapons that were either stolen or manufactured or whatever. And that goes to the point, like we said on the beginning of the show, when we ran that clip on the Turtle Island Liberation Front, Order of the Black Lotus and all that. They said, well, we got a pipeline to get illegal weapons. So the crooks are going, as we've said. And we're not just a bunch of white hillbillies just because we want 27,000 guns supplied and we're just a bunch of crazies. It's the truth. You know, the old saying, if you outlaw guns, only the outlaws will have guns. Just go 90 miles south across the border from San Diego to Tijuana. Or wherever, and just keep going south. And you'll see how that theory works. Remember, the revolution in Mexico, first thing they did was take away all the guns from the people. And the poor Mexican people for 150 years have been hosed. Don't let them do it. The Hennessy Dugan, the Wisconsin judge, tried to sneak the illegal alien out. ICE was looking for. Well, she was in her courtroom or in her custody. She has been found guilty. Guilty of harboring an illegal alien. Like we said, never forget, Democrats defended this crime. She said, I'll do it. I'll get the heat. Well, certainly she got it. And I hope they sentence her to the maximum amount on every charge she's been convicted on. It's about time we got some accountability rolling on here. Like I said, we got a shot. We got a shot in 26 to make a major step in turning California around. You're pissed off about the high gas prices, high home prices, roads clogged. Government seemed to be up your butt for every reason, making your life miserable, taking food off your kid's plate, and giving it to some vagrant or whomever. Well, not really. Giving them a couple pennies and enriching a very few. This is a new poll, and it was paid for by California Issues Reform, a nonprofit. But this is a moderate Democratic caucus group forum. Not a bunch of MAGA hat wearing, Make America Great, wearing the Ratfink t-shirt and the American flag types. This was done by the California Issues Forum, a moderate Democratic caucus, according to Interactive Polls, who put up the post of this particular poll that just came out. It has Steve Hilton, number 1, 18%. Chad Bianco, 17%. Eric Swalwell, 17%. Katie, the Psycho Chick Porter, at 13%. And then the single-digiters, Tom Steyer, Javier Baccaria, Antonio Villaraigosa, who's really Tony Villar Jr., the odious ding-dong Tony Thurman, and clueless Betty Yee, bringing up the rear, those two at 1%, as you see on the poll. Democrats only, Swalwell 30, Porter 21, pretty much like the poll is. Why this is important? And Democrats pulled this off in Senate District 4 in 2022. And this was the reason why they put the top two deal in. So you run in the primary, the top two move on to the November election and that. So if you're in a heavy Democratic district or heavy Republican district, it really doesn't matter because the top one, you're going to have a sacrificial lamb candidate, except, or it was saying, oh, you're going to get more moderate candidates, which is an absolute 1,000% bold-faced lie. Just like the so-called term limits, as they say, oh, we get them out and we'll do that. It's a bold-faced lie, and we've run it through the Prop 140 and the PPIC and many other studies. It's made things worse. It's polarized. 75% of our state Senate and our Assembly are Democrats, and probably 2/3 of them are left-wing loons. No state office is held by a Republican. Even though we get to 40% of the vote throughout the state almost on every election. Mind you, and it's been documented. And I watched it work. Everybody did. Nobody really picked up on it. I was screaming like a stuck pig back in 22. Said, this is why, and I was using for my hammer of the gutless center-right Republicans that won't get in there and fight on these elections like it's guerrilla warfare, because that's what the rats are doing, and that's why they're kicking our ass. They did exactly this. I think it's close to a 20% up in NorCal, Senate District 4, almost a plus 20 Republican area. They got 2 Democrats, they get 40% of the votes. They split the vote evenly, about 20-20. The next Republican got 19 or less, or whatever the actual numbers were. So you have Alvarado Gil now, although she switched to Republican because now that she got elected, you had 2 Democrats running, and you have a Senate seat that was been represented by an elected Democrat for 4 years in a plus 20 Republican district because they played the strategy. Well, we know that. We're delusional. You're delusional if you think California is MAGA. If we got a majority, we don't have that yet. But we do have a solid 40% of the vote. And let's just take, and most of the polls have been showing that they might show Chad on top and Steve in third, or Steve up front and Chad in third. Most of the polls have had Chad and Steve right in there in a position to be in the top 2. The deal is, if we work this right, and this is the result in June on the primary, the choice will be Steve Hilton or Chad Bianco. There will definitely be a center-right Republican freedom and liberty type governor in California in 26. Now, mind you, even in the recall in 03, Arnold ran on that, and he tried about the first year, and then he gave up. But that we have had 20 years, we have not had anybody that even sniffed. The best you could say is maybe Jerry Brown a little bit, played in the center on a few issues. Newsom's been a disaster. Arnold, most of his tenure was a disaster. Gray Davis was a disaster. Then you're back to 82 to 98, where we had George Dukmajian and Pete Wilson. We had 16 years of Republican governors. That isn't that long ago. That's why I say 30 years ago. Around 30, 25, half quarter century. It's when all this stuff went haywire, which we went over a lot of that. But this is today. Today we got a shot. It's not, and I get, there's Chad Bianco supporters or Steve Hilton supporters, and yay, good. Good. And we've got the scenario. This is the exact scenario that played out in Senate District 4 in 2022. They had 2 Democrats They had 5 or 6 Republicans, all because they figured, oh, well, whoever wins the Republican vote's going to be in the top and they'll be automatically elected state senator. Well, the rats employed the Roy strategy, and they took the seat. Now, Alvarado Gil changed parties because she knows she's not going to be elected in that district because her election's up now in 26. She's going to be rerunning for that seat. And she knew there's no way, almost, never say never, or no way. It would be almost impossible for her to win the seat again as a Democrat. So she switched parties to Republican. Yeah. But we have the perfect storm. Look at that. Look at how they're splitting up the vote. Swalwell, flawed candidate, banging the fang spy, no votes, not showing up and voting in Congress yet. Katie Porter, the psycho chick. Stay out of my effing shot. And the whole thing. My you-know-what don't stink attitude. Tom Steyer, he's got a lot of, he could probably throw $100 million at it, which is good. He'll muddy the field, but he's done this time and time again and never got no traction. But he takes a good solid 6, 8, 10, 12% support. Love Tom's running. Javier Baccaria, and we all know that with Dana the Hammer Williamson and Sean McCluskey and Campbell and all that stuff going on. Tony Villar Jr., former mayor of L.A., I like him in there too because he's got a crew in there that'll throw, and they're already started. They will throw the political bombs. They'll go after these guys, and there's plenty too. Tony Thurman is just plain incompetent, as we know from our school system, the superintendent of public instruction. Betty E's just stupid. That's as easy as pie to look at. But in every poll, in this one exactly. And behind the scenes, Democrats are afraid the Roy strategy might work. I've gotten it from really good, well, the wind blows really good around here. You're thinking, holy crap. We might wind up as our choice in November between Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton. Like I said, if that happens June 5th or whenever the primary at 9 o'clock, and you want the top two repealed, 9 o'clock in the morning, June 6th or whenever, they will repeal it instantly. So we'll accomplish two things. Vaya caramba. Want to cover this before we roll out on this Faster Than You Friday? Of course, one of our favorite whipping boys, Tampon Timmy the Retard Walls, and Minnesota are in, as George Poppy Bush said, deep doo-doo. The whole Somalia fraud thing broke this week and said, well, looks like $1 billion in fraud went in welfare and all this and funding whatever terrorist groups. just tin horn dictator nations and whatever was going on. And Trump even mentioned it the other day in his address. It's possibly up to $8 billion. And of course, all the left's going, oh no, it couldn't be that. Trump's exaggerating. Yeah. Well, maybe he wasn't. Now reports are Trump was even low. Now the reports are it could top over $9 billion. The Somali fraud in Minnesota. Here's the Fox 9 report.
Now learning the Feeding Our Future case was just the tip of the iceberg for fraud in Minnesota.
Now that is according to federal prosecutors who shared staggering new numbers today. As So Young Kim reports, more than half of $18 billion spent on Medicaid programs in Minnesota could be fraudulent payments.
The U.S. Attorney's Office had warned about the iceberg of fraud they saw ahead earlier this year. Now prosecutors are giving a sense of just how big the problem could be.
What we see in Minnesota is not a handful of bad actors committing crimes. It's a staggering industrial scale fraud.
Staggering industrial scale fraud. $9 billion per capita. That's even higher than the $30 billion of unemployment fraud that goofball Gavin Newsom gave away of our money. Well, all of our money's 50 states. We haven't paid it back. The loans from the federal government. Per capita, this is bigger. This potentially is bigger than that.
Fraud.
Federal prosecutors say they're just getting started looking into Minnesota's social services fraud schemes. Officials say they flagged similar patterns of explosive growth in those programs. According to the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the 14 Medicaid programs at the center of investigations in Minnesota have cost $18 billion since 2018 overall. Prosecutors say they aren't able to put a final figure to the scale or portion of fraud in the state, but Assistant U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson says he suspects it could be in the ballpark of $9 billion.
So at least, right out of the gate, half. The staggering number of that is even ridiculous. Right out of the gate, half of it was fraud for the last 7 years.
Or more.
I don't make these generalizations in a hasty way. So when I say a significant amount, I'm talking in the order of half or more. But we'll see. When I look at the claims data and the providers, I see more red flags than I see legitimate providers, and overwhelmingly so.
And prosecutors say they expect to see additional charges in the coming weeks and months.
This is why I've said Obamacare, all this stuff, everybody's, or the vast majority think, oh, I'm getting something free. No, you're paying 3 times as much for half the health care. And you're funding not only insurrectionists in our country, but tin horn dictators all across the globe to screw you over. Do we really want to be that stupid? Apparently we have a lot of stupid because a lot of people are supporting this crap. The vast majority of the people are supporting this crap. You're not getting nothing for free. You're paying for it. They're stealing food off your kid's table to pay for this fraud. Half of it or more. Jeez. Sometimes. And they're just digging into this. Half is fraud right out of the gate. Holy cow, as we say. See if we can get the video switcher to cooperate. There we go. This is a bizarre story out of Fontana. Man demands sex, then sets a woman on fire. Cops say a real dumpster fire horror unfolds in Fontana. Apparently, a vagrant was living in the dumpster. This dude comes by, demands sex from the lady vagrant in the dumpster. She's not red hot on the deal, so he sets the dumpster on fire. Fortunately, the lady wasn't severely injured. But man, that's a bizarre story on that. Another disturbing story, school board member implicated in a child molestation case. Charges include annoying or molesting a child, bribery, intimidating witness. This is from Christopher Becerra. He's from the Brea Olinda School District. He's facing a multitude of charges of that. And again, just because they may have teacher or something beside their name, this is another reason why you should be paying attention severely to the school board races. And I think it's Yorba Linda, Placentia Yorba Linda, the great school board member Leandra Blades pointed out, hey, all you teachers, you're the ones that supported this guy. And she's saying the same thing. As you got to pay attention to this stuff, and you got, it's teachers that are doing this to us. Starting with Prop 98 and 88, they've wrecked the state of California. It's time we take the state back. Well, that'll do it for this week. We usually say in this Fashion Friday, mandatory, you're back here in 71 hours. Why? Best darn show in the whole wide world. Until then, see ya.
The preceding was a paid program.
All right, Roy. Well, have a good weekend.
You got it.